Victorinox Swiss Army. Where's the name of the company? It all began in 1884. Nobody knows what was before. Victorinox Swiss
Hey, what's
Army.
up, YouTube? This is Swiss Army Dan coming at you with another Swiss Army knife video. And that is a little Swiss Army knife song I just found by Sebastian at Victorinox. Great song, wow. Gonna have to cover that with my band one of these days. Hey, I'm doing a video today, kind of in response to a request, and today we're going to discuss the Victorinox Ambassador. And it's maybe kind of like a underrated, not often discussed Swiss Army knife that is pretty rad. And I think, one of the viewers brought up, it doesn't get that much attention like, say, a classic does. But it's basically, the same tool set, and it doesn't get as much attention as like the 74 millimeter executive. But it's a really cool knife. This one does not have a keyring. They come both ways, with and without keyring. This one happens to not have a keyring. It does have toothpick and tweezers that you get. These toothpick and tweezers, they go in 74 millimeter and 58 millimeter knives. They're interchangeable, just like the 84 millimeter and 94 millimeter knives. The toothpick and tweezers are interchangeable, in case you didn't know that. You get a little bit larger blade. Compare the blade with the classic there. You can do quite a bit more with this one. It's getting to, I think, a little bit more usable size. MacGyver demonstrated the use of this blade quite a bit. You never really saw MacGyver reach for a classic. So yeah, that's one obvious advantage. The Ambassador has a larger blade. What's interesting is the file on the Ambassador is actually smaller than the one you get on a classic. So yeah, look at the file area though. Here's a classic SD, and I don't have just a classic, I think, but here's a Rover, that has this. But anyway, since it has that, they don't have a sorry about that. They don't have a screwdriver at the end of this file. So that's the file that you get, and it's actually bigger on the 58 millimeters than you get on this Ambassador. This is like the size of like the small blade that you get on the executive, about that size. You see. So that's interesting. But I mean, maybe you're not missing out too much. You are kind of missing out on a screwdriver. I don't understand why they didn't just go ahead and maybe make this a screwdriver. Maybe they look at this more of like a nail trimming kind of hand care knife, with the nail pick there and the blade, and then these scissors are, I think, a lot more useful than the scissors that you get on a classic though. Um, they're a lot more, they're a lot bigger and maybe capable of more tasks, or easier to do tasks, and won't take as long. So that's definitely an advantage. Um, they're basically the same width. Actually, the executive, I'm sorry, the Ambassador is just a little bit thinner than even a classic. Not by much at all. Not by much at all. But I was just looking at them like flat on the table, and the Ambassador is just a little bit thinner. Definitely longer. 58 millimeters compared to 74 millimeters there. So, definitely a lot thinner than an executive. You know, if you're wanting thin, an Ambassador is a really good way to go. And you know, realistically, the Executive doesn't have too much on the Ambassador. You know, you could say this has its screwdriver. I wouldn't want to use this for too many screwdriving tasks. Maybe something really small, like, you know, like on like a, you know, appliance or like a remote control or something like that. But not too much. And like, you know, you can peel an orange with this. This helps. It's cool. I'm not dissing the Executive. I'm just saying this is a pretty practical, simple to carry knife. I think, you know, one reason that these aren't so popular is just because there's not as many variations of like the different scales, and you know, like there's not like a pin on the 74mm scales. You know, not as many variations in colors and everything. I got all these out just to kind of show you know, the thickness of all these things. And here's a bijou, and it's basically just like this Ambassador. You know, they neither of them have a key ring. But as far as thickness goes, let's see if I can arrange these. I think it's gonna be something like this. You know, so here's like a mini champ down here, and then a midnight manager and a regular manager, executive, a signature. So like these pin layers do add quite a bit of thickness. Then a bijou, then this Ambassador, and it's just a touch thinner. And you know, even than this, because these are exactly the same. So you know, a Cadet is a super thin carry. It's gonna be thinner. Well, it's just a little bit thinner than that Executive. But the Ambassador is thinner than the Cadet by, you know, it's clearly thinner. Not a whole lot thinner, but you know, you'd feel that in your pocket. So I think anyway, as long as you're not like worried about, you know, screwdrivers and all the extra tools, like you got your blade, scissors, file, you know, toothpick and tweezers, it's a good carry. So I don't know, it's a good fifth pocket or watch pocket carry. This Ambassador, and like I prefer carrying this to the executive in the fifth pocket, just because it is thinner, you know. So I like this Ambassador. Anyway, so I hope I hit all the points, you know, that I wanted to, or that you guys were expecting, or whatever. I appreciate you guys watching this little video about these small knives, and I want to remind you guys to be kind to each other. Swiss Army Dance out.